The only difference between the best therapist on this planet and those who struggle is an ability to focus. I do watch lots of tapes as a supervisor. And often when I'm watching a tape, I stop the tape and I ask my supervisor, okay, what's your goal here? What are you trying to do? Most of the time when I ask this question, especially in the beginning, my supervisors tell me, I don't know what I'm trying to do. I can guarantee if you don't know as a therapist, your clients probably don't know either. So let's get much more intentional about our focus, much more tactical about what is happening in the moment. When I talk about focus, what I mean is paying attention to the present moment with real intention. Imagine me stopping your videotape and asking you, okay, what is your target here? Which client are you trying to work with? What interventions are you trying to use? If that intervention works, what will you do next? More importantly, if that intervention doesn't work, what will you do next? If you're attuned, what is your next move? If you're misattuned, how do you repair? When a partner jumps in and interrupts your focus, what is your plan for dealing with that interruption? If your repairs are successful, what do you do next? What I'm saying is there's actually a lot of choices to be made in session, moment by moment. What we're going to do here with this website is try to break down those moments to empower therapists to actually have more choice. Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor who wrote Search for Meaning, said there's an event that happens and then there's our response to the event. For most people, it's just that quick. Something happens, they respond. Something happens, they respond. What he said, there's actually a space in between those. What we're trying to do in any effective model is expand, slow down that space so people actually have more conscious choice. EFT, what we're doing this website is about being mindful, being intentional, having more choice. What helps me keep in a rhythm of my focus is really paying attention to two things. People that go to trainings that I do like to tease me because one of my favorite sayings is Cocoa. Like, remember Cocoa Puffs, eating the cereal as a kid? Cocoa, what does that actually mean? When two people are in a place of synchrony, in a place of connection, two things are happening on a neurological level. They are co-coing, co-regulating affect, and co-creating meaning. So those are the two COCOs. Co-regulating affect, co-creating meaning. In my experience, most therapists are pretty good at opening up space to co-create meaning. And we're going to talk more about that later. But what I want to start with is the importance of co-regulating affect. What does that mean? Two people, or their emotional states, have to be close to each other if they're going to get into a place of connection. Most therapists don't take this personal, have lousy energy. What do I mean by that? They think they're supposed to be slow and soft and calm all the time. And that's great when people are in slow, soft places, but a lot of times that's not where our clients live. So what I want you as you're thinking about this is to really reflect a moment. What is your level of engagement like? What is your energy levels like in session? If every session you're spending your time saying, so what's happening? Can you tell me more? What did you do next? If you're going to do that session after session after session, you wonder why therapists get burnt out, right? We're designed to be able to move with our emotions. It's almost like I want to have at least 3 energy levels. I can raise my energy level up and connect with people when they're angry, when they're happy, when they're passionate. They got big energy. I can have my medium level. That's just my everyday talking language. Can you tell me more? And then I could have my low energy that's trying to show people I can get their fears. I can be alongside them in their sadness and their pain. Can you move as the energy changes in a room? Right? That's when we talk about the rhythm, the flow of a session. And a therapist's ability to move with it is really important towards keeping your focus. The other part that we really want to take a moment to talk about is what is your map? What is your plan towards keeping your target in session. In EFT, for EFT therapists, this is where we have the maps, the steps and stages of the model. Right, when we talk about helping a couple de-escalate, to unite against a cycle, to recognize what's not working, the good reasons people miss each other, the protective moves that they use, we're going to talk a lot about in the next episodes. Right, trying to get people to recognize that as the first step and start uniting against it. And then stage 2, where you get a couple to now replace those negative cycles with positive cycles, to literally create a different relationship, secure attachment, to be able to have success in vulnerable conversations. In stage 3, we want to consolidate those gains to see that the couple can do this without us. A lot of us, I like to see the steps and stages as a map, as a roadmap towards the starting point and the finishing point. And it's really helpful along the way for a therapist to take out their map and say, where am I? Am I in stage 1? Am I in stage 2? It helps make the process a little bit more explainable and predictable. The problem with steps and stages is they're too big. They're helpful to get us in a cardinal direction, but they're not so helpful to help us right in the moment what we're doing. So what's helpful for that is what we talk about in EFT, the EFT Tango. These are 5 different steps that a therapist can take to keep their focus. If the steps and stages are the roadmap, the Tango is literally the car that helps you help the couple move to go from places of insecurity to security. What are the 5 steps of the Tango? Right? 1, we want to start in present process, so critical. We're trying to grab those triggers and go deeper. Step 2, go deeper, help people become clearer, gather new information. Step 3, to be able to share that new information through an enactment. We're going to do a whole series on enactments. That's the theory of change in this model. That's what makes this model so profound and powerful. We're trying to get people to do things differently. Not just understand it, they need to literally do it differently. And that's going to happen through the enactment. Step 4, process after people take these enactments, help them make sense of it. 5, zoom out and organize the experience. But even the Tango can be a little bit too general at times. So what we came up with is the acronym TEMPO. And this is based on Magna Arnold's original work of assembling the elements of emotion. It's really trying to help therapists to really unpack these emotional moments that happen in that split second. So with TEMPO, what are we starting with? A trigger. Everything in this model is starting with triggers. A lot of EFT therapists want to stay away from content, yet in the content is where these triggers live. I don't want a couple to say, last week we had a fight, and then we did this. No, tell me what happened in the fight. What did your partner say? What was their facial expression like? What tone did they have? The literal words. You're late again. Right? It's those triggers that start off a whole emotional cascade of events. So when we talk about a trigger, literally how we're defining that is there's some cue. There's something outside or coming within. Whatever the cue is, it hits a vulnerable spot, causing a physiological response. That's these triggers. Too many therapists are talking about emotion and not actually working with the emotion in the session. If you want to work with emotion live, you gotta grab triggers. That's our starting point. Once we grab a trigger, the next thing we want to do is to go to the physical sensation. A trigger always has a physiological response. So that emotion is, let's go to the body. Let's help people understand what's happening in the moment as they're talking about last week's fight. Let's not stay in the past or talk about the future. We want to be in the now. Where in your body, when you say, my wife said I'm late again, even as you hear that, what did you feel? Did you feel a tightness in your chest? Did you feel an edginess, a pressure on your shoulders? Every trigger has a physiological response. It's okay if clients don't know it, but if you keep asking, they're going to get better and better at noticing what is literally happening in their bodies. What is an emotion? It's just a signal. It's trying to provide information, right? It makes a lot of sense to listen to that information, to empower our clients to really listen, to be engaged with their own bodies. Once they give us that physical sensation, then we want to go to how do they make sense of it? So your wife says you're late again. You feel some pressure on your shoulders. And how do you make sense of it? I screwed up again. I failed. I got it wrong. Right? Anytime we have an emotion, we want to make meaning out of what that emotional signal is. P is for the protection. It's not enough to have it, but what do you do when you make meaning of something? Do you get angry? Do you go away? Or when I feel like I'm getting it wrong, I don't want to make it worse, so I go away. My action tendency is to pull away. And the O is the therapist's attempt to organize this whole thing that literally happens in less than a second. No wonder why most clients really don't understand their emotional world. It moves too fast, and they don't have people to help them slow down and make sense of it. So tempo is a nice in-moment process. Grab my trigger. It has to be live. Go to the body. What kind of physiological response does it create? Help them make meaning of their own inner world. Help them understand how they normally protect themselves from this inner world. Do they get angry? Do they go away? Do they try to hide themselves? Do they make themselves bigger? How do they protect themselves? People have good reasons why they do what they do. And organize that whole experience. And importantly, validate. Help people have success in slowing down and understanding their experience. So tempo is a really nice way for the therapist to kind of keep their focus when they're getting lost in session. I'm trying to help people slow down, get clearer about their emotional signals so they can send more direct signals to their partners so their partners have better chance of responding to them. If the therapist isn't clear on where they're going, and the clients are not clear about their signals, and partners are not sure what they're saying, you could see why it's so easy to get lost. We all get lost. When I look at my tapes 20 years ago as an EFT therapist, I was lost the majority of time. What has happened over time is I've gotten better at recognizing what I'm trying to do and noticing when I'm off track so I can quickly go back to repair and getting my focus back. So let's take a minute to look at a session and see how the therapist is doing, keeping their focus.